Hey, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a special interview and art sale with comic artist Bart Sears. If you're a comic art fan like I am and enjoy getting to chat with comic creators, I'd encourage you to subscribe to our channel. Not only do we get to hang out with the great Bart Sears this afternoon, but I've got upcoming shows with Mike and Laura Allred, Dennis Cowan, Bill Sienkiewicz, and Howard Chaykin. So lots of stuff always going on here. But as part of today's show, with Bart, we're going to be offering 33 artworks that are available for purchase. Most are a variety, probably from his early works to recent works from Bart's career. We'll have published pieces, prelims, and a few commission-style pieces available as well. And there's even a complete story, which is probably the most unique item we've ever offered on the channel for sale. On any show that we've ever had. So I'm really looking forward to showing that one off as well. But before we get started with the interview, I wanted to go over some of the ground rules on how we'll be doing the claim portion of the show and how we'll be handling that. And that will, of course, follow the interview that we do with Bart. So the rules, if you're familiar with our fulfillment services with Third Eye, then you know how we're going to handle things today. To purchase artwork that you want to buy, you're going to be emailing Third Eye Comics, and that email address is nicole@thirdeyecomics.com. We'll remind you throughout the show, every slide that we show will have a lot number, and on those slides we'll also have Nicole's email address. So what you do is you send her an email. First person who gets their email to her will be the person that claims that artwork. Nicole will reply to you immediately, letting you know you've gotten it, and she does try to reply to those who follow up with claims that aren't accepted because they weren't first. And I'm notified by Nicole when a claim happens, so I'll let everybody in the chat know when a claim occurs. So when you send in your email, please include Sears Art Sale in the subject and include in the body the lot number that you're looking to purchase, as well as your name. And things to always remind yourself and always follow when you're doing this. I'd keep a pencil and paper handy, because we will have 33 artworks to look at, and I know a lot of people like to take notes while these things are going on. It gives you an idea of what maybe you might want to buy, because you don't have to, if we're on lot 10 and you decide you want to go ahead and pull the trigger on lot 2, you're more than welcome to email Nicole and claim lot 2. So, keeping tabs on the pieces you're most interested in is always a good thing. And all but 2 of the artworks are actually at Third Eye Comics today. So fulfillment will be handled by Third Eye for the 31 that they have. I don't think we've ironed out whether or not Bart will be sending the 2 pieces that he completed recently to Third Eye before mailing them out, but we'll iron that out later. But all the artwork is with Third Eye Comics. So when you make a claim today and it's successful, you will be invoiced by Third Eye Comics, and they will expect payment within 48 hours. The artwork will be shipped immediately. The only 2 pieces that aren't there are 2 pieces. One is the cover recreation to Justice League Europe #1, and then a commission style pinup as well that Bart just finished today, I believe. And prices that you see do not include shipping and handling. Domestic shipping and handling is $20, and international shipping and handling is $50 for all the artworks that you will see presented today. So so that's it. I mean, we'll go over that process one more time before we get started. A lot shorter, of course, but it'll be fun. So without further ado, let me bring in our guest of the day, Mr. Bart Sears.
Hey, Bill.
Bart, how are you?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Fantastic. You seem to know tech. You've got your name in there, right?
I know tech till something goes wrong.
Well, I am really happy that you're doing the show today, because I get to talk with a lot of collectors and art dealers, and the most fun I get to have is getting to chat with creators on the show, because
awesome. I appreciate you having me, man. This could be fun.
Yeah, and we were almost neighbors. Did you move because you heard I was coming down to Florida?
I won't say that's the main reason, but no, I've been there over 20 years, was just tired of Florida, tired of hurricanes.
You moved out.
And wanted to move back to family.
Yeah, that's right, because you're in New York now, and that was where you grew up, right?
Yeah, born and raised.
So
I don't live where I was born or where I was raised, but I'm in New York State, so it's close enough. Right.
And you're not at New York Comic Con this weekend?
Nope, I haven't been there in years and years. The last time I was there was with Ominous Press, but that had to be 6-7 years ago. I don't know, a while ago.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm not there either. I do like that show. As far as a show for creators, I think it's one of the better shows in the country. But
oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I mean, I like Heroes, a lot too. I mean, but
Oh,
I
Heroes
think
is
as far
great.
as the size of a show, New York Comic Con has the biggest artist alley probably of
Is,
anybody, right?
is
Um,
Baltimore's in a couple weeks. That's another good
that's
creator show.
I'm going to that one for my first time actually
Oh,
this year.
cool. You'll love it. That's a good
I
one.
I don't know how I've managed to miss it in all these years, but I've always heard the same
Just
thing.
don't stray
Baltimore,
too far out of the show.
yeah. So, it's like where to start here. I mean, you've been in comics for many years. 35 plus. So what was the driving force for you to want to get into comics? And I shouldn't even say just comics because you're really kind of a journeyman in a lot of different fields. I mean, you've worked in comics, you've worked in gaming, you've probably done a little work in film. But what was that drive initially to just become a part of the comics industry?
Well, I learned to read young, probably when I was 3 or 4, and probably because my brother always had comics around. He was older, and so by the time I went to kindergarten, I could fully read novels. I was reading Tarzan at 6, so I loved heroic, fantasy and heroic adventure. Doc Savage, Tarzan, Conan. I mean, those were what I, pretty much grew up on, and I'd always been drawing and sculpting, mostly because my older brother did. So I just kind of, did whatever he did, and but I was pretty good at it. And when I was 10, I saw Neil Adams' Batman comic, um, Night of the Wolf, I think it was called. It was one of those 80-page super specials. I can never remember the issue number,
Hmm.
but it was a werewolf story. And I decided when I saw that I wanted to do this. And then I started to realize that people actually do this as a, a career and a life. And that was when I decided I wanted to draw comics.
Well, that was, it kind of leads into one of the questions that, you've done a lot of the spandex heroes, but you also kind of draw a lot of the more, Conan, Turok. And so clearly was kind of the draw, right? I mean,
Yeah.
do you like let people know that that's kind of a, an angle or a genre that you're really into, or does it just kind of fit your drawing style, do you think?
Not really, because honestly, that's a lot harder than doing superheroes.
Mm-hmm.
So for daily regular work, I really like drawing superheroes and cities and the now, the kind of dream work is the Conan, the Tarzan, that all that stuff. Plus, I see each job differently, and I see the Barbarian stuff as much more illustrative than superhero stuff, which I see more sleek and streamlined.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's two different things. Would I love to draw Conan monthly for the rest of my life? Probably yes, but I'd probably want to write it at that point too. So
I can understand that. So, do you feel like you kind of adapt your style based on the genre, or do you just stick
yeah,
to what feels most comfortable? Yeah.
whatever I can get away with, pretty much. I mean, if I'm going to do straight superhero stuff, it's all that
Mm-hmm.
and but I usually tweak it somehow to keep me interested as well. I've been doing it a long time, and it gets boring drawing the same style and the same rendering over and over again. I mean, the heart of it for me has always been the drawing, which you'll see a lot of pieces later, which are basic drawing stuff. Just that understructure, that stuff before rendering ruins it. That's my least favorite part, is the final rendering, whether it's pencil or ink. I much prefer just the drawing and the storytelling. So I don't know where I went with that, but
So I'm curious why you feel that way. I mean, the pencils are more challenging for you than the final inking stage of it, or
no, I find the rendering, the finishing off of art
yeah.
boring. I mean, that's
Okay,
time consuming, and I find it relatively boring. The energy of drawing something fresh and working out the body, the pose, the action, the storytelling, that's much more interesting to me than laboring over final line work.
so that's kind of the grinded out phase of production.
Yeah, that's why with the path, I penciled all of that, most of it, on 8.5 by 11 typing paper with markers.
Mm-hmm.
Then we would blow that up and then print it out in blue line, full size, and that's what Mark Pennington would ink, and that was a lot excuse me, a lot more fun to me because it was just that rough kind of just explosion of black and white on a page, which I find much more enticing than, much more reserved, cultivated stuff like the Justice League.
All right, I should be switching you and making you a little bit larger so everybody can see what you're showing off. There we go.
So I think that's the first time I recreated that piece. I think. I mean, as the Justice League piece, I've done a million takeoffs on it,
right?
Of different characters and stories, but I think that's the first recreation I've done. So,
well, we appreciate that. That will be available for sale. One of the first pieces that we'll have for sale during the show. So, can you talk a little bit about your process? Because when we did that interview or chat before, like a month ago, you were telling me about how you do a lot of tight pencils on an 11 by 17 board, and then you switch and then do the inking on another 11 by 17 board where you're light boxing it. So you end up with a lot of, the prelims, which we're going to see some of in the art sale portion of this today.
Yeah, I do. I tend to work mostly in 3 stages. I work a thumbnail, which is roughly a quarter size, and I might nail a thumbnail the first time out, and but I've also, for different things, might have done 50 or 60 thumbnails till I got to the one that I thought was right.
Mm-hmm.
And then I blow that up and I trace that off half size to whatever the final board's going to be, and there I do all the basic drawing, and sometimes a little bit more depending on what the final stage is going to be. If I'm going to ink, I'll tend on half size to do a pretty tight, and I might do 3 versions on the light box, a rough one, then a tighter one, and then a final one. And then if I'm penciling, like I say, I might do 1 version, then blow that up and do all the final thinking on the board full size on the light box. But if I'm inking, I tend to do a little bit tighter, smaller rough, and then I blow it up and just ink right on the light box.
That makes sense. So, I mean, when you're sending your pencils out, I mean, are you sending them the tight finished pencils? Or are you sending, I mean, today I imagine sometimes you might be sending out scans for them to blue line. I mean, what's the process there? Oh, no.
Yeah. Scans are the tight pencils. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or depending on who's inking it, whatever level of pencils they're going to be. But yeah, it's all, I don't think I've mailed pages. That's not true. I rarely mail pages anymore. Usually it's all, I'd say 95% blue line if someone else is inking it.
Well, I mean, that's what we're seeing, more and more these days, as far as, from artists, and we as collectors have to kind of adapt with what to expect when you're buying a piece of original art anymore.
I remember when I was last working with DC on Warlord, that wasn't the last time, but pretty much the last time. I was shocked that they needed me to send in the original art. I mean, that was 10 years ago now, 12, 15 years ago. I don't even know when that was. But I was like, I scanned it all. I mean, I can just send you scans, but nope, I had to send in originals, which baffled me. But then, of course, years later, it was just scans.
Well, that was after, it's kind of after your period with CrossGen and everything. But, I don't want to miss a question here from the audience. I skipped it over a little bit earlier, but Brian Salinas wanted to know what book you feel was your best work.
I don't know. That's a tough one, because whenever I finish a job, I hate it and I can't stand looking at it. And I'll go back and look years later and tend to see the better parts of it rather than everything I screwed up. I think the first Faith, Legend of the Dark Knight series I did, Faith 21, 22, and 23, was pretty good. I loved everything I did for Blade, but I got to write that too. Exo. The second Dark Knight with Joker was fun too. Heck, I don't know. I don't know if I can pick a favorite. I mean, if I had a favorite to do, that I haven't done yet. I'd love to do Detective Comics monthly, but that'll never happen. So
Why do you say that?
I'm not welcome at DC. So
Well, that's unfortunate.
yeah, that's how it works sometimes.
You know, with your tenure in everything, you'd think that you'd be welcome pretty much anywhere you want to go.
Yeah,
Well,
things happen.
yeah. Well, then I guess that Nix's Margaret said that I know this is very on brand for me because she's a big Legion fan, but she said she'd love to see you work on a Legion reboot.
The Legion would be fun. I mean, when I got into comics, I did not want to draw group books. And my first big book was Justice League Europe, and I was sweating bullets just because of all the characters and all the reference and all that stuff. It's so much harder to get into a rhythm when you have so many characters you aren't familiar with. And by familiar, I mean having drawn multiple times, by issue, 10 or 12, or I think I started hitting my stride on the Extremist saga in Justice League Europe, which is around 15. Then I started to figure out what I was doing and was comfortable with the characters and stuff. And, got better at doing comics because that was very early on in my career. But yeah, Legion would be fun. It'd be a blast. I mean, I did that Eclipso crossover, and it was a blast drawing all those characters. Took forever, but it was fun.
What's interesting,
better at it now.
15 books into JLE to finally feel comfortable. And that was, so you were always at your wit's end at the beginning?
I had to draw Europe and Paris, and, I was losing my mind. This was all stuff, I wanted to draw skyscrapers in New York, which I was familiar with because that is what I'd been drawing my entire life. So thrown into all these characters I didn't know in Europe, it was challenging.
Well, I guess, yeah, I could see why that would be. I mean, I could see people getting very upset if you're not getting the monuments right or the locations even close.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't make sure it was, historically and completely architecturally accurate, but, I tried to at least fake it well enough.
So Michael had a question in I guess this could be a general statement, when sending your artwork into any publisher, did you always get your originals back?
Yeah, by the time I started in comics, that was common practice.
Yeah.
Which it wasn't 10 years before I started, I guess, but it happened, it's somewhere I think in that 10 years before I started, and I started in comics in 85. So.
Right. Yeah, it was about mid to late 70s when I think most of the publishers started giving the art back, and probably because they had no more room to store it in part. And they felt like the production stats and things were all they'd really need to reproduce the art from. But now we've got these great artist editions and everything, and the originals are so much more valuable to I think everybody. But that's good. I'm glad that you never experienced any of the negative side of not getting your work back.
Nope. At least not in comics anyways. Hasbro was a different story. They kept everything. And then
you did a lot of work.
Dumpster.
I forgot about it. Oh, really?
So yeah. There were guys that knew when they were going to dump a file, a drawer of, a bunch of original art, and they would wait till they did it and go out there and dumpster dive and just grab all that great artwork.
So have you seen any of that artwork surface on the market or come back to cons and people ask you to sign it, that kind of thing? Yeah,
never been asked to sign any of the stuff I did, but I've seen it out there online.
Well, that's unfortunate, but I think it seems like a lot of, that obviously happened a lot in the gaming industry. So I guess you're saying the toy industry as well.
Yeah,
was not too open to returning their artwork. I mean, that's unfortunate.
Yep. No, it's just how they ran it for years and years. They had the stuff dumped in drawers, and when it got full, they just took it to the dumpster. I don't know what possessed them, but nobody ever thought it had value. So.
Right. Yeah. Little did they know. Look at the hobby today, or the aftermarket. That's where all the artists are making their money, because it's not like the page rates have really changed too much in the last 15 years.
No.
But the art market certainly has.
Yeah. Thankfully, it keeps old guys like us alive.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you seem pretty busy. I mean, I can't see how you're not lacking for work, I imagine.
I'm just slow. I keep planning my schedule like I did, 15 years ago, without realizing that I've slowed down a lot in the last 5 years.
I mean, as far as just your productivity, or just
Yeah.
yeah,
And just the ability to sit here, I could sit here for 12, 16, 18 hours a day, multiple days a week, back then. And, now if I can get a good 6 hours at the board, a productive 6 hours, I'm feeling that's a great day. Just get tired.
Yeah, I can imagine. Lots of questions coming in from the audience. So, I think you kind of mentioned it earlier, but earliest influences from artists, whether they're comic artists or other.
Frazetta was huge. John Buscema, John Byrne. I always forget the guy that I most like too. It'll come to me. Neil Adams, of course. A bunch of the famous, illustrators back in the day. I'm horrible with names, so I'm not gonna get that right. And it was funny. I was sitting with Howard Chaykin, who I just met a few weeks ago at a show, and he was like, "Look up this artist because you draw like him. Look up this artist because you lay out stuff like him." And I look on my phone, I'm like, "Holy crap!" Yes, I do. Never heard of this guy, but never seen this art, but maybe I did when I was a kid, looking for stuff. Foster, Alex Raymond. I mean, almost anybody that produced work did stuff of value that you can glean something from. So, especially back, before the early 90s. So,
right. Well, I mean, there were a lot of influential artists at that time. I think that
Frank Robbins was brilliant.
Oh, Frank Robbins. Yeah, I love Frank's work. Let's see. We got another question, or maybe it's more of a comment statement, from Jason. With so many 90s artists getting variant cover work these days, he's surprised that Marvel hasn't tapped you to do some of those.
Well, Marvel and DC don't really touch me much anymore. So,
man, somehow that needs to be corrected in some way. And let's see what else we got here. Jake mentioned that you were the reason he started collecting comics, because of your artwork. And I think that a lot of us got turned on to things like the artist. It really is. I mean, the artist work is kind of the gateway into starting to just picking up your first book off the shelf, right?
You have to pick up something that's attractive to you, and then you read it, and if you like it, or if the art's strong enough for you, you buy it. But hopefully the story's good as well, and then you get hooked. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think of covers these days that don't really have much to do with the stories inside of them?
Yeah. I'm a big fan of iconic covers.
Yeah.
And if a story cover can be done in an iconic format, that's my favorite. A story involved cover.
Mm-hmm.
I've done covers that I really didn't like that were very story involved. And I don't know if that's if there's people that just love that stuff. I'm not a huge fan of picking a story cover over a better design cover, because I don't know. I have a thing where a lot of story covers I don't think are great covers. And actually, in the new Drawing Powerful Heroes 3 I'm doing, it's a book all about how to draw a splash page.
Right.
And the new section I'm doing is how to take that same splash page image but make it into a cover rather than a splash page. So
that's interesting. I did see that. That's an Indiegogo that's coming up?
We'll launch beginning of November. We're
Okay.
taking signups now at my website, bartsearsart.com.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll make sure I get a link to that in the show description when we're done. I stumbled into that right before the show, and I wanted to ask you about it. It was one of my bullet points of notes. But so this is your third one, though. So and I saw somebody else asked, and we can talk a bit about this. Brian asked about, do you have any desire to get back into teaching? I mean, you taught at Qbert. You've clearly done a lot of kind of, I don't want to say how-to books, but books along the lines of what Bern Hogarth did, and somebody mentioned their name earlier too, where you just you're putting out your ways of doing figure drawing dynamically, and then like you just said, this new one is about splash pages / covers creation. So you seem to have a penchant for wanting to, be in some ways an art educator.
Yeah, I'm actually, I've always kind of taught people on the side as well, or maybe mentored a little bit. But now recently I just started putting together plans for an online school. So I hope to maybe launch that next year.
Oh, wow. That would be great.
Yeah, I do love teaching. And most of what I love about teaching are questions. If you throw something out there and people are asking you, questions about it, that's when I think as an artist, you have to think. We sit so much and do so much. We don't really necessarily think about what or why we do what we do. So the part I've always loved about teaching is dissecting the process so that I can explain it to someone. And I've always been more interested in in the why rather than the how. I mean, there's a million books on how to draw a figure and how to do this and how. I'm much more intrigued in the why. Why did you make that decision? What, made you choose this over that? I'm really fascinated by the why.
No, that's interesting. I think a lot of, I wish you well in it. I hope if there's anything I can do to help promote it when you get closer to launching whatever it ends up being, I think
awesome.
I'd be happy to. I've worked with a few different things that promotes the arts, and I've helped, and I've seen lots of people do creative things like portfolio reviews online. I mean, those are just invaluable to young creators and people who are just getting started or wanting to learn. So I think there's certainly a need for
so expensive these days.
Oh yeah,
of course, because everything's more expensive now. I mean, groceries are twice as much now than they were 2 years ago. So everything goes up. But hopefully, I can do it at an acceptable price. That's people can manage.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, my daughter wants to go to Ringling. And, that's about $80,000 a year. So
what's your second job?
Exactly. That's what I'm starting to think about. Like, what else can I do around here to kind of cover that? I don't know how I'm going to cover it, but I'm sure it's well worth it. I mean, she took a summer class there this year, and so I got to tour the campus. It was,
awesome.
It was pretty amazing. I was pretty, surprised by how nice it was, and I got to meet some of the faculty there. And so, if she gets in, I'll find a way to make it work.
Yeah,
like you said, that might be a second job.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a good school.
Yeah, no, it was a good school when I was looking to go to art school in the late 80s. And, I ended up going in the Boston area to an art college, but Ringling was always up there with RISD and whatnot. So yeah, if she gets in, that'll be great. Let's see, just a comment. Red Bullet mentioned that Brutes and Babes influenced the generation, and that's true. I mean,
thanks, man.
What was it like getting to do all that kind of, spot pieces for Wizard and things? I mean, as far as
it was fun. I mean, I lucked into that because Garib's family comic shop was just outside of New Jersey, and I had been at the Kubert School, and I knew was good friends and still friends with the guy who ran the Kubert School graphic studio, Mark McNabb. And I'm not sure how, but Garib contacted him to help in creating the magazine and lining up people. And Mark Numeen said, I was teaching at the Kubert School that I should do some covers and stuff for him. So I started doing covers and all those silly little wizards they were all about in the early days. And he asked me if I would want to do a drawing column. And I said, sure, and came up with Brutes and Babes. I was teaching at the Kubert School at the time, at the same time period. So that was just fun and, heck of a learning experience. I had no idea what I was doing in those early tutorials. So I'm very happy I got to redo the books and expand on all the tutorials and make them a lot better than they originally were. But they did. I've heard a lot in shows. I don't know how many times people that cut out all of the Brutes and Babes lessons and stapled them together and made their own booklets out of them and different stuff. And a lot of pros have told me that I was a big influence in their getting going in comics from the Brutes and Babes stuff. So I mean, that's, kind of mind blowing and extremely humbling. I just sit in my studio and do this stuff, and you don't, especially back then, you never talked to anybody, you know, unless somebody got your phone number and called you. But, with the internet, you hear a lot more, of course, and doing more shows and stuff. People still come up to me at shows and say, "Your Brutes and Babes," and
That's the thing they remember the most.
It's just really cool. I mean, I thought Wizard was an awesome magazine for the time it came out. I was always hated when it started to switch to the more movie and gaming and toy magazine that it had to become because of how the comic industry sort of died. But I thought it was a brilliant magazine for the time.
It was
Very
printed well.
To be a part of it.
It helped get me back into comics. I'd stopped buying around the like 89 or so when I was midway through college, and if it wasn't for Wizard, I don't know if I would have kind of gotten back into buying comics.
It made comics exciting again. And I think, obviously the explosion of the collector market in the 90s, got it into the higher in the eye of pop culture, I guess. But Wizard was really, I think, instrumental in how all that happened. I mean, they really promoted it, and just to see somebody excited about comics, because I used to go in comic shops as a kid, and I mean, so many of them, the guys were almost embarrassed they were selling comics. They weren't promoting it and stuff, but it made it exciting, it made it accessible, it made it kind of cool. So I really liked Wizard. Appreciated what they did.
I did as well. And here's a question from Dave Kopecki about some of your Wizard covers and using the Whitman pseudonym.
Well, there are a couple of reasons. Garib wanted me to do a cover, and he was really curious if a really good cover with a no-name artist on it would sell. And I was under exclusive with DC, and I was moderately, not really, but a little worried they'd get annoyed I was doing so much work with Wizard and doing covers and stuff. Even though it wasn't competition, it's a different animal. But so I said, sure, let's do a cover, and I'll use my middle name. And we did the Venom cover for Wizard number 9, and apparently they couldn't print enough of them. It really, from what I was told, it was a real turning point for Wizard magazine. That no-name Venom cover, because it was it's still a cool cover, and I guess I've heard from people that it was driving fans crazy trying to figure out who Whitman was and why he wasn't drawing comics and all this stuff. It was pretty fun. So so we did that on several other covers just for fun. I mean, we thought it was pretty obvious after a while, and the rumors around who it was, but it was still
a very unique style. I mean, I think so. You would think other pros would definitely be able to pick it out and understand your work. Yeah. But that's funny. I mean, a lot of several creators in the 60s and 70s did the very same thing, right? Inkers who didn't want the other publisher to know, so they would have a pseudonym, and that happened a lot. I think just for guys who were trying to get more work. So I think it's kind of interesting that you might be one of the last people that have done that in their careers as far as comic artists go, because name recognition is everything. So putting out a false name. I mean, now that everybody knows now, but still, I mean, who's going to do that today, really? Unless it's some kind of gag. I mean, that really wasn't. You weren't doing it as a gag. It was almost a test to see what would happen.
Yeah, it started as a test and just kind of became, I guess, a little bit of a gag. But I mean, and we all have to remember. I mean, comics is a commercial art. I mean, the more you produce, the more you make. I mean, you're paid by the piece. And, when I got into comics is just when names were becoming a real selling tool, I think, for companies in comics. And, but before then, it almost didn't matter what your name was as long as the quality was good. And when I first started in comics, they almost didn't care as long as you turned it in on time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I had to do 18 pages of Spectre. Was it 21? What number was that? After I did Invasion number 3, or no, before I did Invasion number 3, I had done a couple issues of Cops, and Andy Helfer gave me Spectre monthly. And it was 24-page stories back then. And I had done the first 6 pages, and he called me on a Monday and said, I need you to do this 80-page issue for this big crossover. I'm like, great, that'd be a blast. Superheroes, finally. I wasn't, Spectre was a mystery guy. I wanted to draw superheroes.
Yeah.
And, I'd done 6 pages, and he's like, great, I need you in the office this Friday morning for a meeting. I'm like, cool, I'll be there. He's like, and I need you to bring all the Spectre penciled in. And I was like, it's Monday about 4:30. I have 18 pages left. I have to leave Friday at 6 a.m. to get there for an 11 o'clock meeting. That's 18 pages, Andy. He's like, yeah, you can do it. You can do it. I'm like, So I did it. I banged out 18 pages, and I hope nobody ever looks at them. And Mark inked them, and but I took them in, and that was how it worked back then. It's far from that these days. At least the last time I worked for a major publisher or any publisher, it's that miniseries kind of thought in a lot of monthly comics. I don't know. Does anybody do a monthly comic anymore every month?
They're out there,
I mean, I know they produce them, but is it the same art team and same writing team, or is it a bunch of short miniseries that are loosely tied together?
I think just from conversations I've had, I think a lot of people get a lot of books in the can before they start publishing them. So yeah. I think it just works out that that way. They might have 3 books done before they start, and that helps kind of keep it rolling.
Yeah.
But but with the way production is anymore, and somebody asked a question about digital pencils, and coloring, and whether or not you feel like that's as good as traditionals. But I do think that the changes in techniques, being it, like you said, being it, rather than putting your art in the mail so somebody else can ink it, you just send them the scans. I mean, all that stuff kind of speeds up production a bit. So it should be easier today to get a monthly book done. Outside the fact that, well, I guess in the old days you were all in a, the guys would have been girls would have been in a bullpen, working really diligently on getting stuff done. But I don't know. I think
also style is much more important. With Adams and Byrne and those guys, personal style became much more important than getting it done on a monthly schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Back when Buscema was doing it, it didn't matter who inked them. I mean, you knew it was John, but it looked very different, But once style became much more important, then, it also became slower because you were trying to make, pencils that were looking like finished inks. So whoever inked you, it looked exactly like you wanted them to look.
Right.
That's kind of how the industry evolved, I guess. So it became a lot harder to do a monthly book because you were spending so much time making pencils perfect rather than just drawing.
Well, that makes sense. I've
always preferred just drawing.
Yeah. Well, question from Jason. He had asked if you take commissions. I mean, and if so, where would he contact you?
Yep. You can go to my website, bartsearsart.com, but I'm about 1.5 years out on commissions right now.
Right.
So there's a bit of a wait. Now I've got some old ones I've got to get done that are all up on my wall surrounding me.
Good reminders, right? You don't put them in a folder, that you keep them out so you can see them.
Yep. But I'm getting faster. This last, it's been a long year with renovating a house and selling it, moving into a new house and tearing it apart, starting to renovate that. I don't know that I recommend that to anyone, but starting to get a handle on it and getting stuff put out. So,
yeah, well, I did the same thing. Yeah, it took me 9 months to get my other house ready to sell.
Yeah,
so, or I would have been down.
We thought 2, and it took us 6. So,
right, you never can really estimate that, and so maybe that's why comic books take. Monthlies aren't easy. It seems like it should be, but it can't. But it's not. So, Brian Hines asked about whether you had any other Ominous Press books coming out.
Not currently. I haven't been involved with Ominous Press in about 3 years or more now. So,
but you started that, right? Wasn't that something early?
Yeah, and I own all the Ominous characters and all the properties and stuff, but the actual company is a different entity. So if I do more, it won't be from Ominous Press.
Got it.
But I'd like to. I've got a great giant killer story I've been wanting to do for 20 years, so maybe I'll get the chance soon.
So what is Ominous Studios? I saw that kind of come up.
Now, that was before Ominous Press. That was after. What was that after? I guess that was after I worked full time at a company called Heatwave Interactive, a video game company.
Mm-hmm.
When that all fell apart, I started Ominous Studios, which was just myself and my wife, and we did a bunch of concept art and different stuff, and kind of just let that filter away as I got back more into comics.
Yeah.
So it's just a name out there.
Yeah. The I've talked with a few guys from CrossGen. I mean, what was the experience like working there? I mean, there was so much excitement around CrossGen. I mean, I assume that might have precipitated why you moved to that area.
Yeah, that's why I moved to Florida.
Yeah,
for the promise of retirement, basically, steady job, health benefits, and retirement. And it was great. Personally, I loved the structure of having to go in and do 1 page a day and nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I thought that was awesome. I loved it. And I think a lot of guys did. And I think everybody that worked there got exponentially better just because of that crush. We all had to post our everyday page on the wall, and you'd walk around and look at everybody's stuff. And, you didn't want to be the guy that put that crappy page up. So I think everybody really, not that people don't work hard, but I think there was an extra level of, and everybody wants to grow and get better. I mean, that's just common, but just that every day in that melting pot of artists, everybody, I think, just worked that extra bit harder to keep the quality so high. Because those books were across the board, I think, the best quality that any company's ever produced over time. So there's some new companies now that might be doing that. I don't know, but I think at the time they were super high quality books. I mean, it wasn't the best managed place, and there were a lot of different issues because of that. But I think, quality wise and book wise, they were some of the best books, out there at the time.
Right. And certainly as a business structure, had to have been pretty inviting, and just the idea of being able to work for a company that was going to take care of you like that.
Yep.
I mean, you became the art director.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of from day one. He told me when he interviewed me, I'm not going to be art director there, but first day there, he called me down to his office to solve problems. But, didn't mind that so much. It was nice when I fully became art director, but of course that's when things started to hit the slopes, but we didn't know that for a while. And I guess in hindsight, it was somewhat obvious, but definitely mixed feelings about the whole experience. But I know Mark Alessi, he had the best idea in his heart when he started it. He wanted to take care of artists because he'd gone to shows and seen so many old guys that were just struggling to just exist. And, he wanted to change that as best he could. And that's why he was a big proponent of starting the Hero Initiative. I mean, he was one of the fuel behind it and the money behind the initial launch of it. So his heart was in the right place for sure.
Yeah, well, that's what I always felt like. And I didn't read a lot of CrossGen. I mean, I hate to say that, but when I look at the artwork that comes up on the market, I'm always just impressed by the quality of it. I really feel like, just like you were saying, everybody was pushing each other really hard because
and the colorists just
Yeah.
were nuts. I mean, the Laura Martin and Justin Ponzer, God rest his soul, and Frank D'Armata and Caesar and Mike Attia, and I'm forgetting names, but I mean, they just powered that stuff out. It was awesome and all different.
Mm-hmm.
It was great.
Well, it's unfortunate, but yeah, I was always curious about that. So let's see here. I'm trying to think of what else I want to talk about before we dive into selling some art and talking about each piece. I mean, I guess we could do that. We've got
whatever you want to do.
We've got 33 pieces to look at, so maybe we should just move into that, and then you can tell us a little bit about each piece. And
all right, that works for me.
Showing them off. All right, so let me remind everybody how we're going to do the art sale side of things here, so that you know how we handle things. So if you want to claim any of the artworks that we show, every art piece that we show will have a lot number on the slide, and it will also have the price. We need you to send an email to nicole@thirdeyecomics.com. In the subject, put in Sears Art Sale, and in the body, include the lot number and your name. First person to email Nicole will be the one to get the artwork. After the show, if you've claimed any artworks, Nicole will send you an email with an invoice for the one or multiple pieces that you end up picking up, and payments expected within 48 hours of the show. Now, 2 pieces that we're going to show today are not with Third Eye. All the rest are. The 2 that are not are the JLE 1 recreation and the Wolverine piece that Bart showed at the beginning of the show. We'll work out how we're going to get those delivered, whether it's straight from Bart. He's used to shipping art, so I think that that's probably a viable way to get it done. But just so everybody knows as well, the prices don't include shipping. It's $20 domestic and $50 international. And we do ship to Canada. That is international, of course. But I saw a question in the chat earlier that I tried to answer in the chat. But we do ship to Canada, all of North America. So keep that in mind when you're looking at the prices here today. And like I said, keep a notepad handy so you can know which pieces you might be interested in. You can claim them at any time throughout the show. And once we get done, I'll just quickly recap any pieces that aren't sold. And for those of you tuning in after the show, because I mean, the New York Comic Con is going on. We know it's a Saturday afternoon. You're more than welcome to send in claim requests after the show is over. If you're watching this on the rerun, whether it's later tonight or tomorrow, just inquire about the lot number. If the piece is still available, Nicole will let you know, and we can take care of that as well. So not all claims have to happen live, but it's always to your advantage, those in the chat, to be here, because you get first dibs on whatever we show. All right. So first up, and I can say we don't have anything in a price. It's not ordered by price low to high. These I'm actually keeping these in the order, Bart, that you gave them to me in the spreadsheet.
So, okay.
Made my life easier, since you put everything together so nicely for me. And so I'm
anal that way.
It's easier though. A lot of times I just get an email with just everything typed in it, and I've kind of got to format it and everything. You were very thorough, so I sincerely appreciate that.
I blame Michelle.
Well, that's good. I'm glad. Well, we all need a Michelle. I mean,
Yes,
my wife Maureen definitely keeps me in line here as well. But yeah, no, thank you for that. So like I say, no true order to these. We've got published pieces mixed with prelims, mixed with pinups. So it's kind of a little bit of everything here to I think satisfy everybody's needs as art collectors. So we'll go ahead and we'll show these lots at a time. If someone does claim it, I'll be texted by Nicole, and I'll let you guys know in the via the live stream that it has been claimed. And so we'll get things started. So the first lot today, and this is kind of I think in line with one of the process pieces or methods that we had talked about earlier. This is the Eclipso pencils on 19 by 24 tracing paper. The price on this one is $1,000. I'm also showing the published piece, which I think was a print, right, Bart?
It was a poster. It was a massive poster, I believe. I think. I don't have one. I don't really know. Now that I think about it, because there was another Eclipso poster. It was a massive foldout. So this might have been a print. It might have been an ad. It might have been a poster. But I do know all those little circle bubbles in the Eclipso face in the background took me about 3 days. And I cursed it the whole time. But this piece, when I had worked so much in doing toy visualization art that I did all that on tracing paper and transferred it to illustration board, which is what this was done on because it was so large. So I did the pencils to size, and you can see where there's like lighter rubbing, and that was on the back of it. So I would lightly rub graphite on the back, tape this to the board, and then redraw it on the front, which would transfer the art to the board. And then I would ink that, and that's how the piece was done. So these are the original pencils for that Eclipso piece.
Yeah, that's a lot of work, but I this is it's such a finished piece in and of itself. I was impressed. I mean, you had talked a lot about how the pencil work that you do on interior pages and whatnot are just really finished.
Yep.
Yeah,
So I worked it all out there, and it was earlier in my career. So I really, when I was going to ink something, I made sure it was pencil back then because I didn't have the confidence to just rough it and then work it out in ink. But yes, you get that great pencil art.
So over time, things got a little looser.
If I was going to ink myself, yeah. But initially, I would pencil like I'd pencil for somebody else.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is nice.
It was great. I got to design Eclipso for the. I guess this was for the. I don't know if this was for. No, this was for the miniseries or the monthly book that came out after. I got to redesign him a little bit, make him darker.
Well, it's gorgeous, and I guess it's still going to be available. We'll look at it later as well. I know a lot of, like I say, keep notes, everybody, because I know a lot of people like to see what's available before making some claims. But this next piece is we've seen it a little bit earlier. This is the cover recreation to Justice League Europe 1. Like Bart said, it's the first one he's ever done. It's on 11 by 17, and its price is $2,500. So talk a little bit about this. I mean, this period of your career, like the first doing this. I mean, you said you were daunted already. So then,
yeah, Justice League Europe was my reward for jumping in and doing issue 3 of Invasion. It spun out of Invasion, and it was, awesome to get the opportunity. And when we were working on Justice League back then, I mean, I know I didn't realize. I mean, I know it sold well.
Lot 2 is claimed, by the way, Bart. I want everybody to know.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Thank you. And thank all of you for watching. I mean, this is awesome. Just getting to talk about art is great, but having you guys show up to maybe buy stuff is even better.
On a Saturday afternoon, no less. So yeah, go ahead and finish.
So yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I should have realized when you were talking earlier, or maybe we were talking earlier about books being, done 3 or 4 in the can before they release them. I know I was expected to get 4 or 5 of these in the can for a June or July release of Justice League Europe #1, but they were so hot for it, they decided, I think, to release it in February. So I found out this at a show in Canada in January. Called my editor when I got back to home on Monday, asking him why I wasn't told they upped the ship date from July to February. I think those dates might be wrong, but it's something like that. And he was like, "Oh yeah, you're late now." So that's comics.
Yes,
but yeah, it's fun. I tell you, it's hard recreating this because I draw very differently now. And there's so much in this art that I would not do these days if I was to draw it now. But it was kind of weird retracing those old lines and the way I thought back then. I mean, I don't know how many years ago, 35. So something like that. So it was a little weird, but it was kind of cool getting it done. And looking at it right now on my desk, which is weird. So I haven't seen that piece of art in probably since I think I sold it at that show. I found out the issue was coming out early. So I've not seen that art forever. I have no idea who owns it these days. Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know if it's on Comic Art Fans or not. I'll have to check. But yeah, let me get one. I did see somebody who maybe wasn't paying attention. William Vuk, when he tried to do a claim in the chat. William, as we were mentioning, you do need to email Nicole. Nicole is the one who handles the claims on these shows that we do on Saturdays with artists. She gets the email, she emails back the winner to let them know they were the first person to get their email in. So that way then they've got your contact information and they have the art. So sending out the art and everything is the main thing. And but in this case, of course, Bart has it. Bart did this one just before. Well, when did you finish this one, Bart?
I finished it yesterday.
But I think that I was going to ask you about that too. What it's like to go back and rework a piece that is that far back in your career.
It's bizarre. I mean, I've done a couple of recreations of the Dark Knight 23 cover, and that style is much more familiar to me these days than the cover, than this cover was. So I've never that one never affected me in my brain like this one did, you know, trying to remember why I did stuff this way. But I'd also settled into a different format of working by Dark Knight. Like I say, I got by issue 15 of Justice League Europe, I had started to figure out how to actually draw comics, you know, and how it worked. So
Right.
stuff after that is much easier for me, but this early stuff is bizarre. It's just a whole different mindset I had. So it's tough to revisit that. I don't know if tough's the right word, but weird.
That's a change of style, right? I mean, that's got to be the hardest part.
Well, and how you put lines down, it's so different now. I would not do it the same way anymore. It's just weird. But after issue 15, there's much less of that in everything else I've done.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, before we move on, just one extra question. Dave Kopecki wanted to know if you ever recreated the Exo Manowar 14 cover.
I have not. I have recreated it for different properties, but not the actual recreation of the cover, which was beautifully inked by Bob Layton, I will say.
Bob inked a lot of great stuff in.
Oh yeah,
you know,
it's funny when I got Justice League Europe, I also got calls from Marvel to do breakdowns for Bob for Iron Man.
Oh wow!
And I chose Justice League because it was full pencils rather than breakdowns. And luckily, at that point, I didn't kid myself that I could do both, because I've done that again. But yeah, so Bob and I go way back in that way.
Yeah, I'd like to get Bob on the show sometime. I'm gonna have to shoot him another email. He's posts on CAF all the time, but he's so busy I've not been able to pin him down just to do a. You know, I'd be happy to just do a hour panel with him to talk to him about.
He's a good dude. He's in Tampa.
I know. I'm going to work on that. He's on my list, but yeah, he's always so busy though, and he's always working. He's doing he does a lot. Yeah, he's always got something.
We were supposed to meet for dinner, but never actually hooked up while I was in Tampa.
Wow.
Well, part of that's me. I get in my zone and I ignore everything. So
it's the trouble.
I blame Bob for that.
Yeah. Well, being self-employed, you got to be like that sometimes.
Well, I draw comics. I mean, I want to sit alone in a room by myself 90% of my day. So apparently.
All right. Hey, well, I'm getting extra questions in here, and I'll try to. Maybe we can do them as quick as possible. One, because I know Caesar asked this one before. He wanted to know the evolution of your art style from beginning, to current. I mean, can you summarize it?
Yes, I went from a more illustrative style to a more printable comic book style. That's how I would summarize it. I used to be worried about rendering and lighting and all that stuff. And once, now I'm more worried about form and shape and impression than illustrative style.
I mean, once you saw how your work printed, I assume that probably...
those plastic plates back in the day where you'd buy an issue and you'd see all these lines. Mm-hmm. As they got hot, they would start to wiggle. Yeah, it's kind of funny. I mean, it's a completely different printing process now, but yeah, I mean, that was the impetus for me to stop rendering, was how the printing was so awful. And, I mean, I love it. I love newsprint. I would love for everything I do to be printed on newsprint.
Right.
With that, flat color or that first computer color, which just had a couple of gradients and some tone in it. Love that stuff.
All right. And Pat also want to know, was there a collection of the Brutes and Babes tutorials?
There were two. So
where to get them still?
Drawing Powerful Heroes 1 and Drawing Powerful Heroes 2. They might be available on Amazon.com. They might be available at ominouspress.com. But in my new Indiegogo Drawing Powerful Heroes 3, they will be available in softcover. And that's coming out in September. The Indiegogo is. And if you go to my website, bartsearsart.com, you can click a link and join the page so that you'll be notified when it goes live and get all kinds of cool stuff.
There you go. And I'll make sure I link to that in the description as well, so people can
thanks, Bill.
Support that. All right. Well, let's see. Let's go.
Did I say September?
You said September. I meant
November.
November. Right. All right. Yes. I know how that goes. All right, so the next piece is the other piece that you were showing earlier. That was the Wolverine piece.
Yep,
And,
Wolverine and Hulk.
Wolverine and Hulk. It's a commission style piece done on 11 by 17. It's $1,500. It's very, very finished. Easily could be, it's cover quality, certainly.
Oh yeah,
even though
brand new.
Yeah, and just finished probably within hours of the show.
Yeah, about I scanned it about a half hour before the show started.
Yeah, no, this is gorgeous. I wasn't sure if you were, if what we were going to get for this piece, but a Wolverine is always nice.
Yeah, I had a few ideas for this, and I've got a stack of drawings, of course, because I work in layers. But my initial idea was plain Wolverine and to do another Judge Dredd, but I didn't have time. And then I was going to do Wolverine with Batman and Judge Dredd, and I didn't have time for that, so I decided this Wolverine and Hulk.
Was Wolverine a fun character to draw for you?
Oh yeah. I mean, one of my first real jobs was for TSR was a Wolverine adventure book. So he is one of the first major superheroes that actually he was the first superhero I drew professionally, I believe, for TSR for that make your own adventure book.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, but everybody should know this piece is claimed too, by the way.
Oh, okay.
That's great. Well, that's cool. I mean, TSR launched a lot of artist careers. I'm always seeking anything I can find that was done by that company.
Yep.
It's just fun. I love spot illustration pieces that are done. What's that?
I first started in comics with Marvel, and it was too much work. I just couldn't do it timely enough, and then I started working for TSR, and that stuff was great. But while I was working for TSR, I got hired by Hasbro. So I was doing Hasbro presentation art paintings, and then the Hasbro stuff. I just couldn't do both at the same time, so I failed out of that miserably. But I think I did a Doctor Strange book too. Can't remember.
Did you get that artwork back? How was TSR to work with?
I don't have no idea. I don't have any of it. I don't know if I sold it because I really don't have much artwork. Being a freelance artist, you tend to get rid of everything you can, whenever you can, to pay bills. So I don't have a whole lot of original stuff from ever.
Well, that's nothing wrong with that. That means it's out in the wild somewhere.
Yep.
All right, well, we'll keep this thing rolling here. We'll take a look at lot number 4. This was the cover to your Heads Will Roll.
Yep.
It's done on 11 by 17, and it's $1,500. And I like the that printed image with the blacked out eyes.
Well, they were Zoop was initially hesitant to print this cover because of copyrights and all that crap. So I comically did the black bar one with this color. This cover has been not altered. What is it? Censored. And they're like, "That's awesome. Let's do that." So that was the cover that was the main cover for the book. And this was an alternate cover. It was also printed in black and white on the back of the book, so everybody could get it. But it was also an alternate cover that sold out completely. So all I have are the normal censored covers left. But yeah, this is the original art. No, it's not 11 by 17, by the way. It is.
Oh, smaller. It's not. Oh.
It is smaller. Sorry, I didn't put that in there.
Then that's my bad. So what's the size on it? Like,
I don't know exactly. It is probably 9 by 12, something like that. But
all right, well, that's my bad on that one then.
It's got a lot of heroes on it. There's the Shadow. Conan's back there. Who else? Spider-Man. Thing's back there smoking a stogie. Maiden's in that. Calypso, of course. I tried to use characters that either I loved or I was associated with. Yeah. And there are many maidens, but that is the first one, Neoma.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's awesome. Yeah, Jeff says my head will roll after making that mistake. Well, hopefully I didn't make that mistake on other ones, because I think that I might have left that 11 by 17 in there on some other the published.
Yeah, they might not all be, and I may have only put 11 by 17 on the ones that were 11 by 17.
Well, if not,
but
then
I'm
that's
not
you'll correct me on every.
But I will correct it.
That comes up, because I do think I left it on there. I just figured, oh, there's no way Bart didn't. This has got to be 11 by 17. So
no, for a long time I liked working smaller. Printing became so good. I mean, I changed my style because printing sucked.
Mm-hmm.
And then later I changed how big I drew stuff because printing became so good. You didn't need reduction to tighten artwork and all that crap. So I did a lot of stuff that fit on 11 by 14 pages, because it's commercial art, and the less, ground you're covering, the faster you can get it done.
Sure.
Theoretically. So I did a lot of stuff on 11 by 14 boards, and a lot of XO. I mean, and a lot of stuff I do now, unless people, demand it to be 11 by 17, I do it smaller, because I'm so anal and so tight. No one has any idea when it's printed how big it was done.
Right.
So I just started doing it smaller.
All right. Well, correct me on all that, because I think I left it on there all the way through the Thor.
I'll correct.
That's lot 13. But yeah, you if they're not 11 by 17, we'll just let everybody know. So that piece is still available, of course. We'll show that one off at the end of things here. So let's go ahead to lot 5, where I've got it as 11 by 17. It's it's $750. So
it's not 11 by 17. This is an 11 by 14.
Okay.
Board. It is for Graham Nolan's Hefty Men and Brutal Things. I'm sorry, Graham. I can never remember the name of the damn book, but it's a Viking story that I did recently, and that's the first page of the 8-page story written by Chuck Dixon. But here's Barbarian stuff.
First page of the first story. So this is the first appearance of the character.
Yes. Yep.
Cool.
Yep. It was an Indiegogo book, I believe, and Chuck wrote it. It was the first time I ever worked with Chuck, and he's such a tight writer. I mean, I like adding panels and changing things up. He was such a tight writer. I really had a hard time changing anything, and I'm not exactly certain I did. But it's a Viking story, and as you can see, it's more illustrative than my normal superhero stuff.
Oh yeah, no, definitely, and that was why
it's called Two-Fisted Manly Tales. That's what it's called.
Twisted. Oh, there you go. Two-Fisted Manly Tales. Okay, so but it was Twisted Manly Tales.
Two-Fisted, not Twisted. Did I say Twisted?
You did.
Two-Fisted Manly Tales.
So Caesar's got that right then.
Thank you, Caesar.
Yeah, usually the chat has all the answers for us, because they're well read. Marty's confirming it as well. So, well, that's cool. I mean, but it was seeing this piece and maybe that Conan piece, which we're going to see in a little bit, that made me think about that. Your art style and that these kind of characters are ones that you kind of come back to. Whether or not it's by choice or by happenstance. Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's where my heart lies, but I love superheroes as well. It's a heroic adventure, whatever form it takes.
All right. Well, this one is still out there. We'll just kind of roll into the next piece here. And again, you're gonna have to correct me on the size. I hate to say it. This is the cover to. It's 11 by 14. It's the cover to Scream 1, priced at $1,000. I put the published image up there with that one as well.
Yep. This was written by Peter David. It was a crazy, insane story and a blast to do. And all the covers are nuts. But this was the issue 1 cover for the book.
Yeah, that's a lot of detail in that one.
Yeah, it was just nuts. And it's fun drawing stuff that's just wacky like that. I mean, it was a blast. Monstrous, weird creature. Crazy story. It was fun for Dark Horse. I mean, for Dark Horse to do, it was a blast. Really enjoyed it.
So when you did this one in pencil, the pencils would be pretty loose because you knew going into
it. They were pretty loose because I knew what, more what I was doing at that point, and the freedom with that character once you start inking is just to make sure you're adding depth and overlapping stuff correctly. So
Sure.
it was kind of easy.
What was the, I mean, for you, when you're doing covers, and do you submit a lot of concepts first?
No, usually when I do covers, I mean, when I did them for DC, I do 3 or 4 sketches, which I think we'll see some later. And they'd pick one, but I think these later books, in the later half of my career, I just would do a cover.
Mm-hmm.
I have to break for the bathroom. I will be right back. I hope that's okay.
Yeah, no problem.
Right, I'll be right back.
You got it. And well, thanks for tuning in today, everybody, on a Saturday afternoon. I'm gonna go through the pieces probably a little bit faster and take fewer questions going forward. But this has been awesome so far. And again, you're gonna really find the last piece that we're showing today is a complete story. That again, it's unlike anything that we've ever shown before. It's costly, but it's very interesting. I think for those of you who appreciate the process that goes into creating original art stories, for stories that you're gonna enjoy this piece, just to see it and get to kind of really cool view into Bart's process when he's putting together his concepts for not writing. He's taking another, like the writer's piece, and then going from that to getting to the prelim stuff. So it's not going to be the inked pieces, but it's going to be all the finished pencils, which are all really tight for a complete book. And it's pretty cool. And I think I'd mentioned that in one of our recent CAF updates that, that's kind of Bart's process is, because when he inks his own stuff, he has these tight pencil pieces that are also done. And while the inks pieces are the ones that are sold, he ends up having all these really tight pencil pieces to go along with it. So very, very interesting. And you're going to get to see a whole book in that way. But hey,
all right. Sorry about that.
Not a problem at all. We'll just keep it rolling. So we'll go to lot 7. Correct me on the size again. I'm sure I left it in there, and I did. So
yep,
it's 11 by 14. All right. So lot 7 is $1,000. Tell me about this.
No, I think that's 11 by 17.
Oh,
this was for Athleta Comics, which was created by Israel Adonijah, who was a defensive end for the Chicago Bears. And he had this idea about superheroes that were all athletes, and that was their power was one reason they were superstar athletes, but they had more power than they realized. And The Protectors was a story he created that was actually written by Ron Mars and then drawn by me, and this was inked by Mark Pennington. But these were 2 images, covers for 2 web series comics. That's why they have that half thing, but I'm pretty sure this is 11 by 17.
All right, cool. I just saw a question from Jason. He said, "Are offers okay on unsold art?" Not during the live show, Jason. I mean, if there was something you were really interested in and you wanted to, potentially make an offer on something after the show, you can email Nicole, and Nicole would get in touch with Bart, and there's that potential. Doesn't mean that offers get accepted. I mean, but it's not unheard of. I think it has happened in a few shows. But yeah, during the show, we're not taking offers on the artwork. But keep that in mind. I think we have sold a few pieces after the fact, where somebody was maybe who had already claimed a couple pieces, was hoping to get a third one, and we're wanting a little bit off or something. So that has happened. So feel free, but don't do offers during the show. Anything that we're showing today, the price is the price. While we've got it on screen with Bart here. Let's see. So we'll go ahead and take a look at lot number 8. This is an Indiana Jones piece. I think you mentioned your work on there. Now, 11 by 17 or 11 by 14?
This is, I think it's in between. I think it's in between, actually. It's bigger than 11 by 14, or 8.5 by 14, but more like, but not quite 11 by 17. So a different size I worked on. But yeah, Indiana Jones, Strange. I don't know why I got an Indiana Jones book to do from Dark Horse, but I did, and spent hours going through film and capturing Harrison's face and trying to recreate it. And I'm not a likeness guy. I don't enjoy it. I'm not good at it, but I think I did pretty good on Indy.
Yeah, I mean, that second panel's spot on. I love that first panel too. This is silhouette. I mean, that's such a part of the storytelling they did in the films, right? Just those kind of images and stuff. So no, this is it's gorgeous.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Steve Scott's taking the blame for that one. He says Indiana Jones was because I was running late.
That's how comics work.
Well, I mean, so you filled in on a few jobs here or there, right, Bart?
Mm-hmm. That's how I did the one of the final things we got, the Superman Wonder Woman. Somebody was behind, and I had 3 weeks to do it. So,
wow. Well, when guys push you to do something like that in a week, they know that you can do it in 3 if they have to.
Scary.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see here. We'll keep this thing rolling. So lot 9 is from Telos. This is a tribute page. This was so this is lot 9, $750. Everybody, I did put 11 by 17 on this one. I don't know if that's right.
Yes, it is.
Okay,
that is 11 by 17. Yep, I was honored to be able to do this for the tribute book, and great character. Just a great character. I mean, far out of my wheelhouse for what I normally do as far as animals and character style, but what a blast to get a chance to draw, and for such a great cause too.
Yeah, I remember when that came out. That was so nice to see so many different creators contributing to it.
Yeah.
I
think I originally tried to do 3, but I just couldn't find the time, so I got 1 done.
Well, it's gorgeous, and the inking on this is fabulous too. It's just you really outdid yourself on this one.
Oh, thanks.
Ringo would be proud. And yep, just like EJB said, awesome tribute page.
Thanks, man.
Well, and that's as a hobby, I think everybody has to kind of stick together when there's the need arises. I mean, that's why Hero is so important, like you were mentioning earlier.
Yeah.
There's you get, as far as a community of creators, I mean, irrespective of your relationships with the publishers and the people giving you work, I mean, the relationships you have with your peers in the hobby has to be, incredibly special. I mean,
oh yeah,
I think it's interesting that you mentioned earlier that you just recently met Howard Chaykin. Howard's at shows all the time. I mean, feels like to me, it seems like you should have bumped into him 30 years ago at least.
You'd think. Kind of wish I did. I just enjoyed, every minute chatting with him, and just a great guy. Yeah, I wish I had met him. I mean, I was around back then. We just never, met up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've had him on a few shows. I enjoy my conversations with him.
Yeah, sitting next to him at a show is a rare experience, I got to say.
Did he sing?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that is Howard.
And a lot of, I'm not drawing that.
Yeah, he is. He's very, very picky. He's
awesome.
Not somebody who I'd ever do a show where people could, pick what he was going to draw. It's always better to let Howard draw whatever Howard wants to draw. All right, let's see. Lot 10 is next, and this is from Deadlands. Death was Silent, page 11. I don't know. Do I got the size right on this one?
Yep, 11 by 17. Right. It was written by Ron Mars. This was for Deadlands, which was and is, I assume still, a role-playing game that was created, I think, in the 70s, and it was a mix of Western and sorcery. So there were, anything you'd find in sword and sorcery wasn't Deadlands, but it was a Western. So it was a real cool role-playing game, and they've been, rebuilding their brand over the last few years. And this was a one-shot that was part of a 4-book Kickstarter, I believe, years ago, and a great character. Um, he's this gunslinger, but he can't speak, so he has that chalkboard on his chest, and anything he's going to say appears on the chalkboard. So it was just an awesome character. I'd love to do a monthly book with this character. It was just great. It was a great story in this western town that's overrun by, we don't know it at the time, but plant people. And he goes in the town just to kill everyone, and he does. And his sidekick, I think, is his brother, who is actually a zombie. He's dead, but undead. And it's just a great story. And this is one of the pages from it.
Well, that's a cool concept. I'd love to see that on film.
Yeah, it was
pretty
awesome.
neat, right?
Yeah, it was really fun. What a blast. Great story. So much fun to draw.
Now, was that kind of just a one-off book that you did, or did you do?
Yeah, it was just one-off.
Yeah.
I later did a 4-issue thing for him called The Cackler, which was another Kickstarter, but completely different. You know, same universe, same kind of thing, but you know, just a whole nother story.
All right, we're moving out of some of the published pieces here for this lot 11. This is a cover pencil prelim to EXO issue 26 at $750, and it's not we've got several cover prelims that we've got to offer, but this is definitely the only one from EXO. You know, it's nice to see this. I like seeing the process. I think a lot of us have, you know, as covers get more and more costly, cover prelims are your way of getting at least something close to, you know, having that. But you know, so is this kind of atypical? I mean, of your
and you can see all the spider alien heads at the bottom. I didn't realize that they were all dead when this cover came out, so they weren't in the story. I don't know what reference they sent, but I had all those heads, and then I just had to black them out for the final. So you just get some mishmash down there, but originally they were spider alien heads there. But it was a new EXO outfit or costume or armor. I guess armor is the best word for it. And not the first time I drew it, but one of the first times. Kind of an interesting armor, very different from the original EXO 14 kind of armor I was doing. But EXO's changed a lot over the years, and I guess he's changing again.
That is what I've heard as well. So, hey, on your prior piece, Jeff Moy, fellow artist, was asking if the inking style on that Deadlands piece, you know, is more representative of your current artistic style.
No, not necessarily. I mean, I did that felt right for that story, so that's why I did it that way. And you know, pretty much the only stuff I ink I guess I have several finishing styles. The drawing style stays the same. Storytelling style stays the same, but the finishing style will change, except on the superhero stuff. That stuff I tend to do really slick and clean.
So back to fitting the story.
Yeah, at least in my mind, as best I can, that keeps me interested and productive.
All right. Well, this lot 11 is still available. We'll go ahead and take a look at lot 12. This was a pencil piece, and yep. I don't. It was it just for fun?
Nope. This was in some Witchblade thick book edition. I wish I knew what it was. It was the main figure on a 2-page spread that was my contribution to the book. And crazy character. I'd never drawn Witchblade before. And I don't know if this was something that, you know, a costume that she existed in for a long time, or was just, you know, one-off. but just crazy detail on this one. And that one is 11 by 17.
Got that one right. I did try looking up the image. I couldn't find if it was published or not, and didn't have the chance to ask.
No, it was published, colored and published, and I wish I knew what that was. Maybe I can find out super quick. Maybe not.
And all these pieces were signed, correct? Remember we talked about
Yes.
that? Yeah, I got the scans before they were signed.
Yeah, I signed them all before they were sent.
But no, I mean it's it's a gorgeous piece. It has a bit of a crease in the middle, I guess. Is that what I'm seeing on
these roughs and pencils? They're workman art. There's going to be tape still glued to them or residue from tape from where I used tape, and some of them got folded over the years, like this one did, or different stuff. They are not, by any means final art, pristine final art, but I grew up and I went to the Kubert school, and Joe's pieces have paste ups and all kinds of stuff all over them. I mean, so I had a different idea of art, maybe. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, these roughs and pencils, they might have a tear, they might have a piece of tape stuck to them that I'm not taking off.
Mm-hmm.
Different stuff like that. They're working pieces of art.
So when you were at the Kubert school, did you get to see a lot of Joe's work?
Yeah. A lot on the walls. Occasionally you get to go in his office and see him actually working on something, which was incredible. Occasionally in class, he would, do something, in front of you, which was, a real true master. So that was, the Kubert school experience was awesome.
Yeah, I love Joe's work. I've never owned anything by him, but I keep telling myself I've got to get a nice war page from him one of these days. It's just, there's so much of it out there, but it's just, I need to pull the trigger at some point.
This piece was from Top Cow's Artifacts number 3.
All right, Top Cow's Artifacts number 3, and effectively the prelim for the piece. This is lot 12. We'll go ahead and take a look at lot 13. Moving right along. This is that Thor piece. It looks pretty awesome. Again, this is on 11. This is, I know it was noted 11.
Yes, this is 11 by 17. Final pencils. I light boxed the final art from that. It was for a commission.
Okay.
But God, a super cool Thor. I still love it. One of the few pieces I did and loved and still love.
Yeah, what's that like? When you do something that you really enjoy, when you got it right.
Well, the odd thing is usually no one else agrees with you. So that's a little crazy. But yeah, no, it's nice when you do something and it works out, and you finish it and you're like, there's nothing I'd change. Nothing I hate. That's rare for me anyways.
Yeah, no, this is great. I'm sure the person who got the commission was thrilled. I mean, I can only imagine what it looked like inked with the clouds behind them and whatnot. Yeah, I'll have to check and see if it's on CAF. That would be interesting.
It must be somewhere.
Yes, well, it should be displayed somewhere. That's for sure. All right, we're going to keep moving along here because we got a nice inked piece here next. This is lot 14. This is $1,500, and I didn't note a size on this one.
It's 11 by 17.
Okay, and this is a piece that was in a Conan book that you did. I think like maybe the last page from a book.
I would actually say it was in a Conan newspaper.
Oh, okay.
When Dark Horse got the rights to Conan, they had an 8-page story in USA Today, which I drew. And this was the Conan on the final page of that piece. The original Conan I did for this image on the final page, I hated. So as soon as I sent it off, I redid it and sent it to the inker and asked him to ink it and Dark Horse to reinsert it in that final page. So this was that final Conan from the USA Today Conan story. The only one that's ever been done, as far as I know. And this is the final figure, inked by Randy Elliott. Gorgeous piece.
This one's been claimed, by the way.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's phenomenal. I mean, I really,
Thank you.
really enjoyed this piece. I mean, just, you know, the pose is awesome. The inking on it is really well done. I mean, the structure you gave the character, I mean, it's just fantastic.
Thank you. It was crazy doing something for a newspaper that was comic sized. I mean, just a weird experience. And then turning in that final page and turning it in, hating the art because it's a deadline, and then just being able to redo it and for them to agree to it and insert it was awesome.
I mean, that's got to be a tough decision for them, but also for you to say, you know, I want to do this. I want to get it right.
Yeah. I mean, and you don't get that option much. Often, especially back in the day, you'd get the book printed and you'd be like, oh my God, what did I do? You know? And to have the chance to stop that from happening was great. And they have a great standalone piece that is going to look awesome on somebody's wall.
Well, congratulations to whomever picked that piece up. We both appreciate it.
Yes, we do. Thank you.
All right. So next up, lot 15. This is a DPS from The Path, issue 12. It's pages 14 and 15. Price on this one is $2,000. And I know there's a lot of people who really enjoyed The Path. As far as you know, your work on this thing, you know, it's a book that people think of you a lot, you know, very fondly of with this period.
Oh, thanks. And I think this is the last page I own of The Path. And one of my favorite pages. I didn't sell it forever, and because it's one of my favorite pages. And you know, I finally decided I'd put it up for sale here. But yeah, great page. And The Path wasn't just awesome fun for me. I was able, if anyone familiar with The Path, I was able to just do thematic covers. They didn't have anything to do with the stories at all, but they were just cool imagery that sort of captured the feel of The Path and the story behind it. And just having that opportunity was awesome. Of course, being the art director made that a little easier. But I mean, it's a great piece. And this piece is, let's see, it is 22 by 18. It's on one piece of board. It's a 2-page spread. So it's massive.
Well, it's gorgeous. I can see why you hung on to it for a while. I mean,
Yeah.
At the end of the day, there's got to be pieces like that you just don't want to let go of. But
yeah, there's a lot I've sold that I wish I had, but
yeah,
you know,
well, like you said, some things you just got to let things go and move on to the next project. You've certainly kept enough prelims and pencil work.
Well, they're just in a box, so that was easy. I mean, maybe in 7 boxes. I think I have 7 boxes of prelim drawings.
Oh my gosh.
So,
all right, well, we'll move on to the next one. This is still available. So next up is lot 16. And it is $1,250 from the first issue 4. It's a DPS as well. And I said 11 by 17 on there. That's not right.
No, it is would be 22 by 17.
Yes, that's my mistake. I did that wrong.
Yep.
So you know,
2-page spread on one board. We got 2-page spread boards printed at CrossGen, which was awesome. It made so much easier than having to fold and deal with that center piece in normal 2-page spreads. But yeah, what a great, I mean, the first was nuts. There were so many characters and there was so much going on. And this another spread. I mean, I honestly have no idea what the name of the female character there is. But that's Altwall with his little weird cudgel thing in the background. And of course, Sean and Persia. Or no, that's not Persia. That's God, I can't think of her name. She was the other main character, one of the main characters, one of the main gods. Thanks, PCW Kid 76. It was great stuff, and I mean, if it's some of my best art, it was because I the only thing I had to worry about every day was one page, and this was 2 pages. So, and this probably took me 3 days because most of us work Saturdays and some of Sundays to get stuff done, but at CrossGen. But yeah, it was great stuff.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. Yeah, Jocko says Exo Manowar was your best ever, but
thank you. Can't disagree.
Oh man! All right, well, this one's still available too at $1,250 for lot 16, and it's 22 by 17, not 11 by 17, as I mistakenly put on there. Take a look at the next lot here. This is lot 17. It's from Sabretooth, issue 1. It's page 22, and it is $500.
Yep. Now this page is not 11 by 17. This is on 11 by 14 board, or I'm sorry, 8.5 by 14 board. And just a great image of Sasquatch. One of the last character pieces I have left from this issue, or from this 4-issue run, Sabretooth miniseries, and Sasquatch, another fun character to draw. I actually got to draw him in human form too, so it was a blast. This was inked by Mark Pennington, and it all took place in a blizzard at a couple outposts and on a ship. It was a crazy story, but a heck of a lot of fun.
Yeah, I love the Sabretooth miniseries. It was awesome. I'm a Marvel guy, so for me this was and an X-Men guy, so Sabretooth is always going to be right up there. But yeah, this is a really nice page. And I'm sorry I got the page sizes wrong. That's
it's all right. I should have in my anal listing should have listed all the actual page sizes. That's my bad.
Nope. That's my presumptive desire to get things right. All right. Well, next up, we're switching over to a pencil piece here. This is a Barbarian Warrior pencil piece, and that was the only note I had on this one. This is lot 18. It's $500. So maybe less of the size on this one. And
this it's 11 by 17. Mm-hmm. It's penciled concept art for a video game that was never produced, which is most of the concept art I've done for video games, games that have died somewhere along the way. Yeah, there were a bunch of different characters I did for this game. So yeah, just a cool Barbarian Warrior pencil, 11 by 17.
So would this have been done back in, for like one of the Ominous Studios stuff, or was it?
Yeah, it was one of the last Ominous Studios jobs that we did.
Very, very nice. It's like, this is this to me is a really highly finished pencil piece from you, so that's cool.
Yeah, it was sent. I hired painters, and they would paint over this stuff, and that would be the final art.
Mm-hmm. Well, very nice. All right, well, this one is still available. We take a look at lot 19 next, and this is from Bloodshot, and was it Hardcore?
Hardcore, yep.
Yeah, 218, page 11,
and it is 8.5 by 14.
Yep, got the size wrong again. Sorry.
That's all right.
Price on this one is $300.
Yep, it's a good battle page with Bloodshot. I can't remember her name, but Bloodshot is one of my probably my third favorite Valiant character. It goes Exo, then Ninjak, or no, yeah, wait, Rye, then Bloodshot. So I was lucky to do a 2-issue series with Bloodshot and Hardcore a few years ago, and this is one of the action pages from that story.
Oh, very nice. And I have to tell you, lot 17 was claimed as well. That was the Sabretooth page.
Awesome.
Yeah. Oh, congrats to...
Awesome. Thank you, guys. I have to skip out again for a minute. I'll be right back.
No problem. I can song and dance with the best of them.
Thank you.
I actually read a fair amount of Bloodshot. I enjoyed it. So Hardcore, not as much. But yeah, I love Love that. So yeah, I can highlight that piece that did sell. So that was the one that did get claimed. Sasquatch is awesome in that. Nice inks on this piece. I mean, very exemplary of Bart's style during that time. And I can also let everybody know that lot 19 was claimed too. The one we were just showing. So that's another pickup. Congratulations to the buyer as well. And as everybody knows, we stated it early on, when the show is over, you'll get an invoice from Nicole at Third Eye Comics, and she'll send that out within a few hours of the show. And we just expect payment within 48 hours. And aside from those 2 early pieces, everything else is in hand with Nicole. So the artwork will ship Monday or Tuesday. I think usually by Tuesday if you get your payments in by Sunday, and you'll have the art in hand before or by next Friday. So that's the way we like to kind of run things around here, just to get the art in your hands quickly and hopefully up onto Comic Art Fans if you're a member of the site, which anybody watching the show should be if you're not already. Alex, whoever beat you to 17, congrats. That's that is it's tough sometimes, right, Alex? I mean, you see a nice piece, and I know emailing is a bit of a challenge, but the benefit for us doing it via email is that we have contact information, because when we do the shows where people claim in the chat, sometimes a person doesn't get back to us for a couple days, and we don't have their email if it's a new buyer. So when we do these shows with artists, we prefer to get the emails in, because then we've got direct contact info, and usually can square things up much quicker, and that's what we all like. And since we're here to make money for the artists as well as have a good time chatting with them, so I know, Alex, I get it. That's the way we normally do things here. All right, Bart.
Hey, made it back.
Yes, and we did sell 17 and 19, so the Bloodshot page also sold.
Awesome.
Yes.
Sweet.
So now a piece that's a little bit different. This Heavy Metal Santa page 2 page. Might have the size wrong.
Yes, it is. Heavy Metal has a different proportion, so it's probably 11 by 14, this one.
Okay. And this is lot $2,700. And tell me a little bit about what this one was.
Well, when I first started working for Heavy Metal, and we sold them the Maiden concept and started working on that, they wanted a Christmas story, which Ron Mars wrote. And this was page 2 of that story, with these trolls that were based on some famous artist trolls. And of course, the name escapes me because I'm an idiot, but just a really fun little story, and just interesting to draw these creepy troll dudes doing stuff. It's just I don't know. I guess that's about it. They wanted us to do a whole Christmas special, but that has never materialized. Maybe someday it will, featuring this and the Santa that we created for it, who is, of course, a buff barbarian style Santa. But
you couldn't have a Heavy Metal Santa any other way.
Of course. How could you? I mean, can't even fathom it. So, yeah, so this was just a page for Heavy Metal for their Christmas edition, or Christmas special, whatever they called it.
So you're not on Heavy Metal's unwanted list. You're still doing work for them.
Yep. I got we've sold 20 Maiden stories, so we got to get back to work on those.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's going to be a lot of work. All right, so this next image, I have to say, is a little not work safe, but it's art, everybody. So just bear that in mind. We're all adults here, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
So lot 21, it's $400. This is a Savage Land Storm and Rogue rough sketched piece. I don't know the size on it, but
it's 8.5 by 11.
8.5 by 11. Illustration board, I imagine?
Nope, it's on 20-pound paper, which is essentially copier paper.
Okay.
Which is what I draw mostly on. 90% of what I draw.
For when you're doing things like, because you're going to end up light boxing this.
I'll light box it onto Bristol. Yep.
So it makes more sense to do it on something lighter. Okay, good.
Yep. And something less, inexpensive, a lighter paper that's, of course, easier to see through. And I just love drawing on it. I mean, I love how pencil looks on copier paper. So I mean,
Was
a lot of
was
the
this
digital stuff I do the panels on copier paper, scan them and put them on, you know, digitally, put them in the actual page digitally, and then send that out to be blue lined. But
was this for a commission?
pardon?
Was this done for a commission?
Yeah, this was a commission piece.
Well, they are savage. They're in a savage land, that's for sure. That's what you have to wear. So lot 21, $400 for anyone who is interested, and you get Storm and Rogue on that one. Let's go ahead and move on to lot 22. I like that one here. This is a Turok, Crouching with a Bow Rough. This is $325. Now, was this done as a commission, or was this done for a published piece?
You know, I don't. It must have been a commission or an idea for a commission. I don't think it was ever finished. I think this was just an idea I had that I never followed through with. I can't remember if it was for a panel or a commission, but I don't believe it was ever completed into finished art.
Well, it's a great perspective on the character. You know, the pose is awesome. It should have been a finished piece of art, one way or another. But very nice. And this one, like I say, is, and again, this is a 8.5 by 11.
Yes.
Okay. And it's $325. Lot 22, Turok piece. If you want it, you email Nicole at Third Eye Comics. So we're going to move into. We've got 3 consecutive cover prelims here. I think. Very interesting. First up. And actually, I skipped one. How did I skip that? I've got a lot 22 that I skipped, but I'll show this one first, and then I'll go back to the other one. This is lot 24. So it's from Silver Surfer 93.
Yep.
And show the published image up there in the upper left. This is $600. And, you know, really nice. And
It's got notes on it from back in the day. This was what I would fax to Marvel. Back then to get approval for a cover, and this was the cover they approved, and I turned into the final image. It's on 8.5 by 11 paper on my little template I used to make copies of, so I could keep proportions right and just draw roughs quickly. Although this is more than a rough, this is more than a thumbnail. This is a true rough pencil. And it became the issue 93 cover.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And like I said,
I love this stuff. I wish I could stop here and not have to finish it past that.
But you look at this. I mean, you can see you reworking certain areas. I mean, just to get it to, you're always thinking about composition on a cover, right? I mean, that's kind of got to be the hardest thing. I mean, do you kind of scratch in that Silver Surfer logo to give yourself some feel for where you're going to work first, or do you kind of add that in later?
Well, that was probably on my thumbnail,
Mm-hmm.
and then when I sent it before I faxed it in. I probably put that in as well as the balloon placement, which we changed, and I moved the figure, the torch figure up and curved them around a little more. But probably I just did that to, for the editor, so he could see that I was thinking about the logo and the corner box and the UPC symbol. Which they put in a different spot anyways, but
right, of course.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, they did a good job. I mean, it looks good.
Yeah, no. I mean, it came out rather well. I like the fact that the character is over the logo. We were just talking about that the other day on the show. We like covers where we see, things changing a bit, and anything that kind of disturbs the logo area is always fun. So it's nice to see that in the finished piece that was the way they adjusted it.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's awesome.
Fun piece, really fun. Silver Surfer.
All right, so this one's out there, 24 at $600. I'm going to go and switch over to lot 23 since I didn't have it in my slide deck here. Lot 23 is $300, and this was a ROM cover figure pencils, and you can see the published piece there was a ROM Transformers book, I believe. And
I mean, this obviously I drew all the rest, but this was just, you know, I wanted to get the ROM figure right. So this was the you know, tight pencil I did before I traced it off onto the final cover. So, and this is 8.5 by 11.
Now you would have done the other characters just on a different sheet of paper, I imagine.
Yeah, because I use when I do the light box method, you know, I use multiple pieces of paper, and I will, you know, draw through. So instead of ruining the figure in front, I'll just do it on a separate piece of paper, so I get the figure behind correct, and then make sure that there's no tangents and all that stuff when I do the final trace off to pencil.
Sure.
On Bristol.
All right. Well, this one is still available. We're going to switch up to lot 25. And this is another prelim. This is a prelim to Justice League Europe issue 3. It is $600 for lot 25. And it looks pretty much like the finished piece as far as we kind of structured everything and got it all laid out.
Yeah, you can see my notes on there on the actual rough, and where I wrote yes. I mean, I wrote yes on it before I sent it, and then when they approved it, I guess I wrote yes on it so I would know. But yeah, that was early on, Justice League 3.
See, and you know, it's hard to imagine that you were agonizing over this, like you had talked about, you know, but because it seems with all the characters on there that you had to be pretty confident with what you were doing and the, you know, the moment that you were trying to portray here, as far as you know, with all the characters in that spotlight.
Well, yeah, you got to embrace it, right?
Right.
And if you look, I believe Wonder Woman is on the rough, but she was yanked out of the story before. She was yanked out of the Justice League Europe before this cover was actually drawn, because she's not on the final.
Oh yeah, Mark DeSalvo actually asked the same thing. Is that Wonder Woman on the right?
So. Yes, it is. But they were just doing a new reboot of her, I believe, with Perez at the time, and they didn't want her continuity and whatever messed up with Justice League Europe. So she was, when I took the book, she was supposed to be the leader. But obviously, you know, I did these covers probably before I started, you know, working on the stories. And she was yanked before I even penciled this cover. So, but she's in there.
But didn't make it to the final. That's unfortunate.
Nope. Interesting piece of comic history.
Yes, it is. All right. Well, this one's still available. Lot 25 at $600. And we'll go over to lot 26. This one is $400. It's the cover rough to a variant to Deathstroke issue 2. You can see the published version up there in the upper left. And this one is on 8.5 by 11 as well.
Yes, it is. Yeah, I was somehow called back to DC after I was blacklisted and got to do a couple of covers and that issue of Superman Wonder Woman before the powers that be found out. And so, yeah, this was the, you know, I threw this up and I probably inked straight from this to the final cover that you see there.
Well, it's nice you don't get to see the whole team dead like that. Well, I guess you do. Lots of covers, I guess, showed them.
There's only one headless one. I draw a lot of heads in my career, but the only headless one is Martian Manhunter.
Oh, yeah, look at that. I missed that.
He's on the final cover, but he's not on the rough. I must have said, dang, I didn't do a headless one, so I threw him in when I did the final art.
Yeah, let's see. We're Uppenstein said any reason for the Superman pose change. It's not too changed, but You know, I mean, are those like kind of last minute decisions when you're
Yeah.
going into ink?
Just as you're drawing. I don't know why I did that. But man, I pulled Batman's hand up more to tie him into the Green Lantern in the background a little bit. I don't know why I did that. It wasn't editorial stuff. It was just me.
Well, I mean, you can't work everything out in the prelim, right?
Yep. It's just a rough. You got to change it as you go to make it work.
Yep. Well, this one is still available. Again, lot 26 on that one. And let me switch over here to lot 27. Where is that one? It's right here. So this was a Hulk pencil piece. Yep. I don't believe we had a size on this one. Yes, Raging Hulk.
8.5 by 11.
Not rate. Yes. So what was the size on this one? Do you remember?
It was 8.5 by 11.
Okay.
It was for a commission. And, you know, this is a type pencil that I just light boxed for the commission.
Very nice. It is certainly a Raging Hulk there.
Yep.
Now, when they, I mean, you do draw, your musculature is always, you know, very exaggerated. I mean, and awesome. Yes. I mean, I even love the furrowed brow there. It's just, you know how to kind of give that off that ominous feeling for, you know, a character like this.
Yes. Yep. And I always like Dark Knight 23 was the first time I really thought about it and did it professionally, but I drew Batman in Dark Knight 23 as people would remember him, not how, you know, the real human Batman would be. Because there's very few, you know, 6'2", 450 pound, super muscular people out there. So, you know, I've used that going forward in my career to draw. I mean, now Hulk might look like this. I mean, Hulk's obviously a mutated monster, but I like thinking about certain characters and how people would remember them rather than necessarily how they actually look. I don't know. It's just something that keeps me interested in doing this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, this one's lot 27 with the Hulk on it for $275. We've got a couple of X-related characters on this next one here, Wolverine and X-23. This is lot 28 for $500. Is this 8.5 by 11 as well?
Yes, it is. Yep, 8.5 by 11. And somehow I stumbled on this. I did a bunch of roughs, but this just seemed to scream those two characters and the relationship to me. It was for a commission, a double spread sketch cover commission. And once I hit this, I was just like, okay, this is what it has to be.
No, it's gorgeous. I mean, yeah, I love both characters. So yeah, when I saw this one, I just, you know, I could tell you really enjoyed working on this one. But there are other versions, so you were to get it right. But you when you did this one, you knew it, right?
Yeah. I probably did 20 versions of these two and ended on this one. And I still have all those.
Well, that's why you've got 7-8 boxes of prelims, right? That's
yeah.
All right. Well, this is a cool one, and Wolverine and X-23. It's, you know, something like this couldn't well, it should have been a cover. You know, definitely.
Yes. Yep. I agree. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. And then we got lot 29 here. This is a monster concept design pencil piece, $600.
Obviously Frankenstein's 11 by 17. This one is 11 by 17. Pencil. One of the first concepts I did for Universal Monsters video game that I did all of the concept art for, that was later canceled when The Mummy failed in the movie theater. So I did a lot of Universal Monsters, and this was one of the Frankenstein concepts for that video game. It wasn't the final concept. The final concept actually was 3D sculpted before the game was canceled, before The Mummy failed. But This was, I think, the initial thing I sent in when I first got the Just, how I was starting to see things. But their concept was a little more steampunk, and you can see that on my website. If you go to my website, bartsearsart.com, and look at portfolios.
That is
projects, or whatever the hell it's called.
Well, I will get those linked. I'll get your site linked into the description as soon as we're done here tonight, so everybody can get to that and your Indiegogo.
Awesome, thank you.
No problem. All right, so this one's still out there at $600. Next up is I think might it be the no, it's not the last cover piece. So maybe it is. This Cull cover. It's lot 30, $750. Clearly, very, very tightly done pencils on this one, compared to the final piece. I mean,
that's what I inked from. I threw that in a light box and started inking.
I mean, you seem pretty confident on this one. Whereas some of the other cover roughs, maybe they were, you see a little bit of reworking here or there. It seems like you just got this one right. You knew exactly what you were looking for here.
Yeah, once I got this rough down and penciled it, I knew what I was going for. And then it was just, brush or pencil, didn't matter. Finish it off.
Well, this is from Cull Eternal. So I found that you can see the cover as published there on the left and the prelim on the right. And this one is 11 by 17.
Yes.
All right. Yeah, that one. Okay, that one had the note on it. All right. So this one is available at $750. Lot 30. Next up, lot 31. This one, I found it. This was like the end page to Violator issue 2.
Yep.
The rough pencils for that.
That was rough pencils I found, which I threw in a light box and did the finished pencil art, which Mark Pennington inked. But that's the first time Spawn appeared in the Violator miniseries. And I only did through Violator 2 before I was canned. So that was the last page I did. And the only page Spawn is on in the whole miniseries. And it's 11 by 17.
Yeah, I kept thinking, I'm not going to find this page. And I finally got to the last page, and there it was.
Yep. Fun stuff.
Yeah.
Spawn. I mean, just a great character. Violator, insane story. I mean, Alan Moore was nuts. I mean, the whole first and second issue, the Violator clown Violator character ran around with a head that he had somehow punched through and was stuck on his forearm. I mean, just a sick story, which is a lot of fun. But this was the only time I got to draw Spawn in it.
What were the when you get the stories from him? Were there any kind of concept drawings that he provided, or what was that like?
Well, his scripts were 60, 70 pages,
right,
of text. And for Violator, and I don't know if he did this for other stuff, but he included a thumbnail for each page. Laid out visual thumbnail that he drew for each page. So there was also a 22-page addendum with thumbnails for each page.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it's awesome, but he's nuts. I mean, when he described what's on the desk, he pretty much, and I don't know if this is, don't quote me, but he'd tell you how many pencils were in the pencil holder on the desk. I mean, insanely detailed. I mean, way too much for drawing a comic. But he was that into it that he wrote out every single thing you should see.
I mean, given it being him, did you feel obligated to do it exactly the way he would draw it out? Did you take some liberties?
No. Once I get the script, it's mine. So
yeah.
No.
Well, that's good. You gotta. I mean, I think that's good.
No, I do too. I mean, that's how I was trained. Is once a writer writes a script, it's your story to tell. I mean, you have to tell that story. You can't change the story, but you have to tell it. How you want to tell it. I mean, when I did Spider-Woman with John Byrne, he just wrote sentences. So there might be 300 sentences in a 22-page comic, and I would break them into pages and figure out, how to tell the story. But he just wrote a sequence of sentences. So
Every
just
writer's got a
depends.
different approach.
Yeah, wildly different than Alan Moore. So, but I like that. I probably like that more because you've got more freedom. I mean,
And you don't have that extra visual toss in there as well.
yeah, which is always a help. I mean, the only way I
Yeah.
did that Invasion #3 was because Keith. I don't know if you're familiar, but when Keith Giffen writes comics, he does a little layout with balloons. And the only way I got through doing 8 pages of Invasion a week was I'd blow up his stories and then I'd draw from that. So I didn't start from blank white paper. But and it was a great learning tool. I'm sure I learned a ton about how to tell a story from Invasion #3,
Uh-huh.
that 80-page monster.
That's cool. No, I did not know Keith Giffen did that when he would plot a book like that.
Yeah,
that's cool.
It's crazy. Crazy.
All right. Well, this one's still available. We only have 2 more things to look at, and I'll quickly recap things that didn't sell after we're done here. Somebody asked if the Thor has been shown, and we did, but I will, and it is still available. I'll show it one last time after we do these next 2 pieces.
Awesome.
So lot 32 was a Wizard prelim cover pencil piece, I believe, for Sabretooth. Price on this one is $7.50, and it is on 11 by 17.
Yep.
Really tightly
and
done.
that was the rejected Sabretooth cover. I did a full cover, pencils and inks with him and it's not Rogue, it's Mystique, I think. And this was the first Sabretooth I turned in. Mystique was, launching above him, but they rejected the cover because it was too much of his back. So I did a revised cover where you saw more of the front of him, but this was always my favorite. And obviously I penciled the crap out of it on the first version. And that's what this is. It might be the favorite Sabretooth I've ever done.
I mean, it's freaking awesome. I don't know why.
Final pencils. I mean, I threw it on a light box and inked
right
from this.
Yeah, I can't see why this wouldn't have been the one they picked. I love the pose.
It was a better cover. I mean, the second cover was okay, but this is a far better cover.
Yeah.
And maybe Marvel didn't like the fact that it was his back. I don't know. But it was a far better cover, far stronger cover than the final cover.
I was trying to find the final cover. I couldn't when I was Googling it, and I just wasn't really getting any good results. So that's why I didn't include what did the final version actually look like. But yeah, this is gorgeous.
Yeah, because it wasn't printed. I mean, they printed it in one of their cover collected issues. They showed a bunch of the covers I'd done that were printed. But and you can, on this one you can see the old tape I don't dare take off that's still stuck on it. But yeah, this is working art.
It's
good stuff.
It is. It's fantastic. I love seeing a piece like this that is as tight as it is. I mean, you had it right, and they still didn't want it. But what are you going to do?
Yep.
Let's see. Yeah, Marcus said, "Can you include a copy of the script with lot 31?" 31 was that Violator. It's your script from Alan Moore.
I actually don't know if I have it anymore. Love to if I do. I do have a dead drive that has a bunch of old stuff on it that I have not recovered. And if I do recover it, I would certainly include it.
Well, it's a thought. Marcus, if you want to shoot your email over to Nicole, we can at least find out if that helps you make a decision on buying the piece. If you could actually get something from Alan, that would be interesting as well, I guess. So feel free. You've got Nicole's email.
I might have it in a box. I've got everything in boxes. And these are more than my bins. So.
All right. Well, now we get to look at the final piece. This was that, and it'll take a little bit to look at it, but we'll go through it fairly quickly just to give you an idea of what it is. But
this is the best piece ever.
Yeah. Let me, because I did make one slide for it as best I could, just to kind of give a somewhat of an example of what you would be getting here. So this actually comes with the script with Bart's small thumbnails on the printed out script as well. And then you also get the tight pencil pieces that go for it. So this would be like the first page from it. The Wonder Woman figure and the Superman figure are on separate boards. And on this slide, I'm just showing you, what page 1 of the script with Bart's thumbnails were like, kind of working through the process to come up with that layout. And then showing you, at least with this one, where there's 2 separate pencil pieces that make up the prelims that you eventually lightboxed into the final piece.
Yep. And the script includes, if you can see a little bit of my red line or my red marker notes on how I was going to break things up and what I thought was important or where I needed reference. It has all the thumbnails I did on the 22-page story, which was actually a 20-page printed story. This was something I took because somebody was behind. I had 3 weeks to draw 22 pages of pencil and ink art. And they never told me it was only a 20-page story. So I did all 22 pages and turned them in, and they said, "You did 22 pages?" And I said, "Well, that's because you sent me a 22-page story." So they cut 2 of the actual pages from the story. I don't remember which pages those were offhand, but he's showing you the actual script with my notes and thumbnails on it. So there are 22 pages of that. The script's probably, 28, 30 pages because some of them are multiple pages. Mm-hmm. And it includes all of my roughs that I inked from. So they're kind of pencils. Most of them are on 8.5 by 11 board. Some of them are on 11 by 17 board, like that's Wonder Woman and Superman you just saw. Those are on 11 by 17, as was the one I think of is I think it's page 4, which has Superman and Wonder Woman hugging. That has an 11 by 17 pencil art page to it as well. The rest of them are on 11 by 17 or on 8.5 by 14. There's the rough for the page I was just talking about. And the next one, there's the full penciled version on 11 by 17. So,
because that's part of your process. You sometimes would work it out. This is almost like the second iteration. You had the thumbnail, then you did this one.
Yeah. Well, it was an important page, so I penciled it completely so I was confident before I finished it. The rest of the stuff you're showing, I just went and inked from. But this page I penciled full size. And
this job just kind of fell in your lap. You had with the short deadline, it just made it where you really.
The art director at the time called me and hired me for 2 covers and to do this quick fill-in issue. And I heard they got reamed for that because I wasn't supposed to work for DC. So
they didn't get the memo. Must have been a new editor.
Apparently not. No, they were old guys. They knew me, but I mean, they knew of me. One of them I'd worked with before, but one of them I really hadn't much. But that was when DiDio was there, and I got things there. But anyhow, so I didn't get any more work after this. Which
so this is your last DC work.
Yep, last DC work ever.
Well, it's unfortunate.
No, it was fun. It was a great job.
Right. Well, and he had to get it done so quick. I mean, what was doing these pencils to the ink stuff?
Well, I mean, 22 pages in 3 weeks. So, and I think I missed it by 2 days. I think I was 2 days over the 3 weeks. But I've been turning pages in, and that never matters when you do. You turn stuff in. But it was nonstop, 24/7.
Right. I mean, you're doing a solid page a day on this. That's tough.
Yeah. Yep.
Jason, we don't gossip here, Jason. Jason says he wants to hear the gossip.
No gossip.
Yeah, it's better not to.
I'd work for DC tomorrow if they called me. I'd love to do Detective Monthly, but that'll never happen. So.
No. So this one's out there, and again, I did forget to say the price. It is 10,000 for all of it, but it's a complete issue. All the type pencils for all the pages on this, and this is something, Bart, that you have a lot of these around because
Oh
you've
yeah,
done because of how your method in working. You've got
yeah.
you
I
maybe don't
marked
have all the
everything
script, but
of everything I've done.
yeah. I mean, I just think that's really interesting, and a lot, we have a lot of collectors out there on Comic Art Fans that collect complete issues and stuff. So, while these aren't the published pieces, this is the published pieces for a complete issue is going to cost you a whole lot more than what that is.
Yep.
For the price on something like this. So, so this is out there at 10. I'm going to go ahead and just run through the lots really quickly that we didn't sell. So those of you who are still watching know it was available, and
And I'll be right back.
Yep, that's fine. Just because it'll take me a few minutes to go through everything, but I told you this is probably the most unique piece that I might ever have on the show, just because it's not the finished inks on everything, but tight pencils on everything, and I just thought that was really interesting, for Bart to be to work in that manner and to have all these pieces, because you figure all the books that he's worked on over the years, in many cases he's still got the complete pencils to all of them. And I think that's pretty cool. So let's go ahead and just go through these really quickly. Look at the lots that didn't sell. First up was that Eclipso pencils on 19 by 24 tracing paper. This one was $1,000. The two pieces that he did special for today's show both did sell. So next up is lot 4, the Heads Will Roll sketchbook cover for $1,500. Then lot 5 was the Volsung story page 1. First appearance, everybody. I'm not going to make the baby cry, but I should. This one was $750 for lot 5. Next up, lot 6 is the cover to Scream #1 on 11. Well, no, this one wasn't on 11 by 17. I got to correct myself on these, but this one is $1,000. And next up, we've got lot number 7. That's the Protectors piece that was a webcomic. That is $1,000. And we've got lot 8. That was the Indiana Jones piece, the one and only that book that Bart did with Indiana Jones. $400 on this one. Then lot number 9. This was the Tellus tribute to Mike Waringo after he passed. Many artists got together and put together this tribute book to support Mike's family, I believe. And so this is lot 9, $750 on this one. Lot 10 still available. This is that Deadlands piece. And it was this one. No, I don't know if it was 11 by 17. I don't want to make any mistakes on it, but this one is $300 for lot 10. Then lot 11 is the Exo Manowar cover prelim to issue 26 for $750. Then we've got lot 12, the Witchblade piece. This one was on 11 by 17 and is $750. And next one is the Thor that someone asked about earlier, and it is still available. Lot 13 is $800 on 11 by 17 board. Lot 14 did sell. That was the Conan. So we also have lot 15. That was the Path DPS, pages 14 and 15 from issue 12, priced at $2,000. Then we also have the DPS from the first, issue 4. This is lot 16, and it's $1,250. Lot 17 did sell. That was a Sabretooth. So lot 18 is next. This was the Barbarian Warrior pencil piece for $500, done for a game design project that Bart worked on. Lot 19 did sell, the Bloodshot piece. Then we've got lot 20. That was the Heavy Metal Santa, still available at $700. Then next up, lot 21, Savage Land Storm and Rogue at $400. Lot 22, the Turok Crouching Rough with the bow. Really nice layout on this one. This one was $325 for lot 22. Then this was the a cover prelim for one of the characters, Rom, of course, on a Rom Transformers cover. This one is $300. Lot 24, Silver Surfer cover rough for $600 from issue 93 of the Silver Surfer. Many artists wanted to work on anything on that book. I mean, it was phenomenal storytelling in that. We've got a lot of Silver Surfer fans out there, and there's a lot of art from these books on CAF. Next up, lot 25, the cover rough to Justice League Europe issue 3, $600 on this one. And next up, the Deathstroke 2 variant cover rough sketch. This one's at $400. Then the Hulk Raging lot 27 piece at $275. Wolverine X23 lot 28, $500. We've got the Frankenstein design piece that is from some Universal Monsters work that Bart was working on until it got scrapped. This was lot 29 at $600. And we've got the Cull cover pencil prelim piece. This was lot 30 at $750. And we've got lot 31. That was the Violator #2 end page with Spawn, with the story from Mr. Alan Moore. Price on this one $600. And last two pieces, again, the Sabertooth Wizard cover, done on 11 by 17. It's absolutely gorgeous, and should have been a cover for sure. This is pencils only on the 11 by 17 at $750. And finally, that complete issue of Superman, Wonder Woman. You get the script with all the notes and the thumbnails on that, and then all the roughs for all 22 pages from that book. And I think there was a couple, so it's more like 24 pieces of art in total for all of that. So those are out there as well. And that was for $10,000. I did it, Bart.
Hey,
you made it. Yes, I did. So like I said earlier to everybody, anybody watching the show afterwards is more than welcome. If there's, you see something you like that we said was still available at the end of the show, feel free. Email Nicole at thirdeyecomics.com. Send an inquiry, let her know, let you know you're interested in it. And if it's still available, she will let you know. And, and as Jason asked earlier, you're more than welcome to make an offer on something, but, after the show, but, you may not hear back from us, and if you don't, then you know why. But we want to be as accommodating as we can with everybody. So Bart, I really appreciate this. I know it's a lot of work to pull something like this together, and you've got, from your career here, there's a lot of work from different eras that you worked on, and then doing the two pieces that you did special for the show tonight. So this afternoon, it's a lot of effort, but I appreciate it. I mean, I had a really great time. I
had a blast.
You were always on my list of somebody I wanted to chat with. So I can check that box. I mean, if we ever get the chance to do it again, I'd really enjoy doing that.
Oh, I'd love it, man. I would love it. Thank you, Bill. It's been awesome.
Well, I appreciate everybody tuning in today, and I'm not going to keep you any longer. It is Saturday afternoon. You've probably got errands to run and honeydew things to do on those lists as I do. So thanks for everybody for tuning in. Bart, especially for doing the show with me.
Thank everyone. This has been awesome. Thank you so much.
And also Nicole for being behind the scenes, monitoring the emails for us all. All right, everybody, have a great afternoon. We'll see you again soon.